Hey guys, Joe DeMarco from the Crazy New York Driver Show for Friday, November the 13th, 2015. And as you can see, it is another cloudy, nasty day here in New Jersey. It has rained every day this week. And they're saying the rain is supposed to pick up in intensity shortly, so I want to bang this out before I get all wet. So let's do this. Today's eBay video topics will be BOLO tips, more about joining the Facebook groups, more about bad buyers and returns, not as described, but fraudulent returns like we talked about last week with the brick episode. And we're going to have a nice glitch update. We're going to talk about that and a few other things that seem to concern you guys. For those of you guys who've never watched one of my videos before, my name is Joe DeMarco. I've been on eBay since 1999. I'm a top-rated seller with 100% feedback, and I sell predominantly in eBay motors, but I do sell other things as well. So hopefully you'll find this video useful, so let's get started. Last week we talked about buyers returning a brick in place of an expensive item that they bought from an eBay seller. Was it real or was it urban legend? I've read all your comments, and of course none of you guys actually received the brick back in the mail. I don't know if that actually ever happened or if it's just urban legend, but I read your stories and there have been cases of what I would call buyer abuse and buyer fraud, where people would buy your item and cannibalize it, take parts off it. There was a guy who sold a projector who had an interesting story how he received his back broken in the mail. And yes, that does happen. But like Pierre Odermeyer said, people are basically good. When you sell on eBay, most of the buyers are good buyers. However, there are going to be some bad ones. That's going to happen. No one disputes that. There are some buyers that are, if I may use the word bad, only because they're dumb. Alright, there's nothing else to say. For instance, the guy that bought my alloy wheel center hubs and he tried to force them on and broke two. He's not a fraudulent buyer, he's not a mean buyer, and he's not a dishonest buyer. He's just a dumb buyer. Alright? People like that, in the course of business, you're going to have to deal with. Okay? I'm not worried about people like that. I'm worried about the people that are out to fraud you, that'll buy your item, take parts off that they need. I had quite a few people email me this week. It was one of the busiest weeks I've ever had with email. One person wrote a story about she sold some kind of a classic typewriter and they returned it back with a bunch of the keys missing that they needed. Just crazy stories. And these are the cases that are concerning. The worst of the worst. People that return something other than what they purchased from you. A lot of you guys have written in to say, well, eBay doesn't care about this. It happened to me, I proved it, and they sided with the buyer. And I've heard that. But can you guys tell me, in your opinion, within reason, what you think can and should be done in cases of buyer abuse like this? I'm only talking about the worst of the worst. I'm not talking about returns, doesn't fit, wrong size, my 3-year-old kid bid on it, all those kinds of crazy stories, because those are not fraud. That's not fraud. I'm only talking about fraud here. My idea, now I really don't see any way eBay can police that myself. That's just my opinion, and please don't hate on me for guys, okay? But the only idea I can possibly come up with is having some kind of centralized site dedicated to abuse like that, online abuse, whether it's eBay, whether it's Amazon. But the question is, how would it be moderated, who would run it, and things like that. I don't know. Let's go on. A bunch of you guys have written to me asking to get into the Facebook groups. I am happy to report I've placed about half a dozen people this week If you want to get into one of the Facebook groups, there are two types, public and private. If it's a public group, you can do that yourself. Go onto Facebook and search for the groups, eBay related, and join the ones you want. If you want one of the public groups, which in my opinion are the most helpful, the private groups, you can email me right there, crazynydriver@aol.com. Introduce yourself if I don't know you. Tell me your eBay ID. Then I will check you out to be sure you're legit. Alright? At that point, I'll probably even contact you through eBay to reaffirm it. Once I find out who you are and you're legit, I'll place you in a group, depending on your needs. There's a group for eBay stores. There's a group just for beginners on eBay. There's a group for advanced people on eBay. Tell me what your needs are, and I will do my best to help you. But please do not be insulted if I ask you a bunch of questions, because I have to be sure you're not a person with bad intent. And I think you know what I'm referring to. Okay? Next item. Glitch updates. Last week I reported to you how eBay was down on Thursday night, and it was just glitch city, one thing after the other. I noticed my sales were terrible on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and most of Monday. Now on Saturday I did have about 3 or 4 sales come in, but they were all small ticket items. I didn't see any improvement at all until late Monday, maybe around, I guess around 6 o'clock in the evening. Sales started to come in, and I wound up having a very good Monday and a very good Tuesday. However, Wednesday went right back to being slow. One sale all Wednesday. Thursday continued the slow trend, and we'll see what the weekend brings. So guys, did you notice any kind of bump in your sales at all this week over last week on eBay? As I said, I did notice a bump Monday and Tuesday, but that was it. But still, it's better than last week. Hopefully we're on the road to recovery. We shall soon see. Next, BOLO tips. BOLO tips. BOLO is be on the lookout for weird things that will sell on eBay. And I learned this through one of my Facebook groups, and something you won't believe, and I have to share it with you, about some of the things that you can actually sell on eBay. Something we've all probably thrown out or recycled like crazy, and I know I have. I'm going to show you right now. See these things here? These are plastic caps. These happen to be off Gatorade bottles, but a person posted a link to one of their auctions where they had listed 450 assorted plastic caps like I just showed you, okay? And it brought them $40. Think about that. 450 caps brought them $40. Now you don't have to list 450 caps. You can list 200 caps. Maybe you'll get $15. But still, it's better than throwing them away, right? This is another example to you guys of how the eBay Facebook groups are very helpful. They will share little tips and tricks of things that you can sell that you'd never think of selling, and I wouldn't either, and it will bring you some extra income. So guys, start saving those plastic caps from your Pepsi bottles, your Coca-Cola bottles, and of course, your Gatorade bottles. Okay. In your comments last week, some of you guys told stories about how you got frauded by buyers returning things that were not exactly as you sent them. And guys, there's some really important things you got to do, and some of you guys made mistakes, and you learn by your mistakes. Never, ever, ever refund a buyer before he sends the item back to you. That is a cardinal rule. And you're listening to Crazy New York Driver, eBay fanboy #1, telling you this. Don't you ever refund a buyer before he sends the item back to you. Don't be scared of negative feedback and all that. I read the comments in last week's video. You wait. You sit and you wait until that buyer sends you the item back. You examine it, and if it's as you sent it out, you give him his refund. If not, you then proceed accordingly, either by contacting eBay or whatever. Always wait, okay? That's important. And absolutely, when you're a buyer, never, ever leave feedback for a seller before you get the item. You would be surprised as to how many people do that. They'll do a buy it now, or they'll win an auction and immediately leave positive feedback for the seller before they got the item. Don't freaking do it, okay? I'm going to tell you a story that happened to my friend. It happened 3 weeks ago, and I keep forgetting to tell you this. It is so full-blown insane. And this is a person who I know personally, and he told me this face to face. Man, did I break his chops over this. So here's what happens. He buys an item on eBay Motors that he needed. The item was, let's say, $25 plus 15 shipping, 40 bucks. He wins the item in an auction and pays right away with PayPal. Then he does the stupidest move of his life and leaves the person positive feedback instantly. Why? I don't know. The guy must have been out to lunch. All right? 2 days later, the seller responds to him and says, listen, I'm not selling you this item for $25. I think it's worth a lot more. I want you to give me an extra $40 for the item before I'll ship it to you. That, guys, is dead set against eBay rules. It's extortion. Don't you ever, ever fall prey to that stupid scam. So this guy, he writes back to her and he says, no, I'm not giving you an extra 40 bucks. I won the item and I want it for the price I want it for. She says, no way. Absolutely not. She goes, I'll give you a refund and that's it. And she does. And he says to her, well, look, would you at least leave me positive feedback for the deal? And she writes back, no, but I tell you what I'll do. If you let this go and don't pursue it, I will not leave you negative feedback. This is a seller talking, one of us, one of our own kind. A person like this makes all of us look bad. So I said to this guy, I said, what the crap is wrong with you? How could you, a used car dealer, fall for such a thing? And he is a used car dealer, okay? Why, man? You know better than that. I said, get to the phone and call eBay right now and show them. It was all in the eBay contact information. I said, you show them what this person did to you. I want them to know, because this person should not be selling on eBay. Refusing to sell an item for the winning bid and extorting a buyer. I think that's even against the law, not just against eBay rules. Then threatening to neg a buyer, which you can't even physically do. This happened about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I've been meaning to tell you guys this story, and I just keep forgetting. That is just off the charts wrong. All right? Will eBay act on this? I don't know. It didn't happen to me. If it happened to me, I guarantee you I would have called the second they tried to extort that extra money from me. That is just plain wrong. And the person was not a new person. It was not with a guest account. It was an established seller who had good feedback that did this. All right? Wow. I mean, that really freaks me out, and I thought I've seen it all on eBay. But again, my point is not to really highlight on the bad, because like Pierre Odemeyer said, people are basically good. But you will run into some bad people, both as buyers and sellers, and you have to learn how to act on it. That's the importance. That's why I bring these stories up every week to you guys. All right? 99.9% of your transactions are going to be great. But when you do encounter that bad seed, you need to know how to be protected, whether you're a buyer or a seller. And that's why I'm here, because I'm Crazy New York Driver and you're not. Guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to keep this video kind of short today because it's already starting to sprinkle out. You may not be able to see it on camera, but I can feel it. And I don't want to get wet because I have to go to work. So, Let's just rehash a few things now. BOLO tips. Be on the lookout for plastic caps. Start saving them. You'll make some coin. Not a lot, but hey, every dollar counts, right? Next, Facebook groups. If any of you guys need help, contact me. Introduce yourself. I'll check you out. As long as you're legit, I'll get you into a group. Bad buyers, like we just talked about, and there were bad sellers too. Yes, they're out there. eBay has done a good job of weeding out a lot of the bad sellers, but there's still a few floating around. Bad buyers, they're out there, but they're not a huge problem. You will run into one once in a while. I tell you, I haven't had any bad ones for a while, thankfully. I mean, I don't consider a person who doesn't read the listing and returns it a bad buyer. That's just a person who's not well read. A bad buyer is somebody who tries to commit fraud. All right? That's a bad buyer. All right? And fraud even encompasses taking your item apart and stealing parts off it. That's a bad buyer. The glitches have improved considerably since last week, but there are still some. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I hope to see you guys next Friday right here on the Crazy New York Driver Show. Please comment your concerns and experiences below, and we'll have a starting point for next week's video. Hopefully next week I'll actually get to see some sunny days here on the East Coast. This is freaking ridiculous. Rock on!